Hey, what's up everyone? This is Cassius Methyl, and today I have no choice but to make a video about Venus and Uranus retrograde to tell you what nobody else is telling you about this. See, the only retrograde that has a malefic effect, a negative effect, is Mercury. The only retrograde that has a negative effect is Mercury, because Mercury doesn't like to go backwards. Mercury is the mechanical mind, the logical and rational mind, and communication. So the energy of Mercury is not fundamentally changed just because it appears to be moving backwards from Earth's perspective, because think about it scientifically. Why would that work? Why would a planet's energy completely change just because Earth is making an illusion that it's moving backwards from our perspective? The thing that makes Mercury retrograde feel like that is the fact that Mercury is not supposed to go backwards through the zodiac from Earth's perspective. When it moves backwards through the zodiac from Earth's perspective, the energies that are beaming through Mercury, the stars, nebulae, every astronomical phenomena that's behind Mercury beaming to Earth, to us, it's moving backwards instead of forwards. Mercury just doesn't like that, alright? That's what it is. The planet's exactly the same. The energy beaming through the planet is different. So with Venus and Uranus retrograde going retrograde at the same time, there is significance to what the planets are going to do when they retrograde. But I must immediately say that it's not the fact that they're retrograding that makes this significant. And there's a huge problem in astrology when people are going to, so people are going to feel something, right? They're going to feel something, and then they're going to say, why am I feeling this? And then they go, oh, Venus retrograde, or oh, Uranus retrograde, or Mercury retrograde. Every single retrograde, people blame things on the retrograde that most likely have nothing to do with it. Astrology is more complicated than you think. It's the code of consciousness. This is an ancient science, a spiritual ancient science that goes deeper than we can comprehend. So we learn more every day. Since these outer dwarf planets were discovered in the 90s and 2000s, our perspectives have been even more changed by understanding that these dwarf planets like Pluto, Orcus, Eris are higher powers. So anyway, we're learning something new every day. So let me explain the significance of these two retrogrades. Venus makes a retrograde in a very fateful way, but you have to understand it's not the fact that it's retrograding period that's doing this. The reason that this is significant is because Venus is retrograding to conjoin, it's stopping, staying still in the sky, conjunct Regulus, the fiery Leo star Regulus that just moved into 0 degrees Virgo. It conjoins Regulus, and then it retrogrades to again conjoin Jupiter. Venus retrogrades to again conjoin Jupiter. And this is the important part. When Jupiter and Saturn are squaring, making the first Jupiter-Saturn square that has happened since 2005. A once every 10-year event that is a time to check yourself, a time of hard lessons, a time to, basically a time where you want to work hard, and the work won't advance right because you have to fix several things that you've been meaning to fix for a long time. Jupiter square Saturn this year has a whole bunch of fateful things happening along with it that will make it particularly interesting. Venus conjoins Jupiter to square Saturn exact on August 3rd, and until August 3rd it's getting progressively more intense. And on August 3rd there's a grand water trine between Chiron, not Chiron, the Moon, Mars, the Moon, Mars, and Saturn. A grand water trine, a grand water trine, and a yod from Pluto and Neptune pointing to the Sun in Leo. So a yod is one of the only things in astrology that can make a destiny point, a point of destiny. These two yods are quincunxes that are from sextiling planets, sextiling right here, pointing to a destiny, like right there if you have a circular chart. So August 3rd is a very fateful day with a grand water chine and a yacht, and Venus retrograding to align with Jupiter to square Saturn. Jupiter square Saturn. Check out my other videos for a better explanation on Jupiter square Saturn. Now, you know what? I'm just gonna read you a definition of it, because that's probably the best thing I can do right now. Yeah, so Venus retrograde, it does not do much if it weren't going to conjoin Saturn. It just doesn't. It doesn't. See, I'm about looking at what the astrological phenomena actually does. And then once I see what it does, then I form my opinion about it. I don't listen to what other people say. No, I could listen to what other people say, and then I take what they say with a grain of salt, and I test it for myself. Much of the time, astrologers are completely correct when they have an angle, but they have retrogrades all wrong. And there's a whole bunch of bullshit going on with articles being written about Venus retrograde, how it's going to destroy your relationships and shit. Nah, not for a second. It's not going to do a damn thing to your relationships. I can guarantee you that. But you are going to be feeling some hardship right when Venus goes retrograde, because Venus is going to be squaring Saturn with Jupiter. That's what you're going to feel, not Venus retrograde. I swear on my life, it's not Venus retrograde. It's Venus and Jupiter square Saturn. And Uranus retrograde is, it's not doing much either. It's getting closer to squaring Pluto again. By next year around like January, February, Uranus is going to be squaring Pluto down to a close orb again. That's the awakening aspect that has been transforming us, the primary thing that has been transforming us from 2011 to 2015. It's going to continue until about 2019. That's extremely positive, despite it being a square. Uranus square Pluto. The revolutionaries from the 60s civil rights movement were born from 1928 to 1933 in the last Uranus-Pluto square. It's an extremely revolutionary aspect. So Uranus retrograde is a good thing. And I promise you, it's not going to change a damn thing about what Uranus is doing. It's not going to change a thing. And if you don't know the full scope of astrology, you're going to falsely correlate things to Uranus and Venus retrograde that have nothing to do with Uranus and Venus retrograde. You understand? So, I hope that didn't sound too harsh, you know. I'm kind of energized with a will to debunk this, because I've seen way too many people falsely correlate things to Venus, Uranus retrograde, Mercury retrograde. So, alright, I'm going to read you some definitions of Venus square Saturn and then Jupiter square Saturn. Okay. And I've tested all these definitions to be accurate or inaccurate. And I keep definitions on hand that are other people's definitions that have been edited by me to be completely perfect based on my first-hand experience watching what happens